Recently I learned about this tribe of the Inuit people up in the Arctic Circle that have this really kind of gory but effective way of trapping wolves. And what this looks like is they take a knife, they sharpen the knife, and then they begin to dip it in seal blood, layer after layer, and let each layer freeze until it's like a seal and blood popsicle. Which, sorry for the mental picture for all of us that just had breakfast. And after kind of forming this popsicle, they stick the blade or the kind of the butt of the knife into the ground, blade up, and they wait. And it's great because all of a sudden along comes a hungry wolf. And it makes its way over to the blade and begins to lick this blood popsicle and thinks, hey, this is exactly what I wanted. This tastes good, right? And over, the wolf begins to lick the popsicle. Its tongue begins to get numb if you've done the whole tongue to a cold pole in the winter. And so the wolf's losing feeling as he continues to lick. Eventually, he makes his way all the way through the blood popsicle to the actual knife, and the knife begins cutting his tongue. But by this point, he has lost all feeling in his tongue. He's numb. All that he's feeling and tasting is warm blood rushing down his throat. And so he keeps at it. He thinks, this is exactly what I wanted to satisfy my hunger. And tragically, that's the last thought he has. Because the next day, the Inuit people show up, and next to an exposed knife is a dead wolf that has bled out from licking this knife over and over again throughout the night. And it's at that point that my disturbed wife takes the remote and we stop watching the Discovery Channel. She's like, why do we have to always watch weird stuff like this? Listen, I think that we live in the wealthiest, most entertained, most desire-fed nation in human history, and yet I think it's killing us like a knife hidden in a popsicle. If you think about it, we exist at the same time as the greatest accessibility to money and power and sex and recognition that the world has ever known. And yet we don't see satisfaction rising with those same levels. For instance, Gallup tracks what they call the personal satisfaction score amongst average Americans. And last year in 2025, we registered the lowest we have as Americans in personal satisfaction since the year 2001. There's another world study called the World Happiness Report. I don't even know how people measure this type of stuff. But we here in 2026 ranked 24th in the world. I mean, that's behind some third world countries in terms of our happiness. And Americans under 30 ranked 62nd in the world. If you think about it, we have every desire or pursuit at our fingertips. And yet it's not satisfying. We have all of these different paths that we're forging, chasing after pleasure and what we think is gonna create a sense of life in our lives, but we're only licking a knife that doesn't satisfy, and instead, it's killing us. And some of us are feeling that in a major way this morning. As we continue in our study of Genesis, if you got your Bibles, either paper copy or digital, go ahead and turn to Genesis chapter 4. We're continuing along in the story. Last week, you'll remember we witnessed the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, walking in relationship with God, but then choosing to go their own way, forge their own path. God, I know you say this is your will and how we're supposed to live, but we want to call our own shots. Sin enters the world. This week, what we're going to see is just the continuation of sin and how it grows and takes over a life.